asking me about what I think about Obama's job speech last night.
Yeah.
There's hardly any jobs in it. In the first place, he's going to give small businesses, and I guess large ones too, a tax credit of about $4,000 for each person they hire. Well, or wage increases. Hey, that can cover the CEO. But the fact is, most of those companies have stripped down to the bone, and their people are working overtime, so they don't have to hire anybody. So what are you going to do? Hire somebody and have them standing around? I don't think so. You're deducting the payroll tax. That's not going to put anybody to work. This thing about, I mean, if you think for 1 minute those companies are going to hire people, this is the same old trickle down. They don't hire anybody. They keep their reserves. Not only that, you're supposed to have at least 20 to 50 products in the pipeline if you want to succeed. They're not even spending for R&D, so they're not going to do anything with new employees. This thing is, it's the same old thing. The WPA is the Works Progress Administration, which was done through Roosevelt signing an executive order, which instantly went to work. He'd already prepped his staff, Harry Hopkins in particular, who had handled the unemployment situation in New York State. And so Harry instantly went to work, and within 7 months of that executive order, he had 3 million people put to work on infrastructure. And the WPA infrastructure was not just roads and bridges and schools. They had all kinds of relief projects, recreation centers, and staffing those schools that didn't have teachers. They staffed them. They taught 1 million adults how to read, for example. They taught 90,000 draftees how to read. The thing is, you had some pride in what you were doing. Now, a little town called Glasgow, Montana, was off-site of the Fort Peck Dam, which was first cover of Life magazine. Instantly, little Glasgow had 10,500 people working on that dam, and they instantly, of course, spent the money for groceries. They didn't have much in the way of housing, but the fact is, it instantly went back into the economy. They sent money home. The thing is, they're hoping if you give the middle class a tax break, they'll run out and spend that $1,500 that they're going to not tax you and keep the economy healthy. You can't do that. You can't do that.
The WPA was successful?
Hugely successful. If you go up to Timberline Lodge, for example, it was built by WPA.
Why don't they use that kind of model and work with that?
They've done that. I mean, when you think of, I'm talking about Fort Peck Dam, but I mean, there's so many others that were built, roads fixed, and I mean, what can I say? It was all, and not only that, the Hoover Dam, for example, was one of President Hoover's projects. It was all private construction companies. The bill came due in Roosevelt's first year, and the person who directed the building of that dam got a bonus of $250,000 in 1935. Think about $250,000. Today it's a big money, but that's what he took off that. If you do a works project, it is public works. It is not contractual work. So it's going to come in vastly cheaper than anything Obama's thinking here, because he's talking about we're going to give these jobs to fix the highways to private enterprise. And you're going to be paying through the nose. And they're not going to be hiring in this state when Kulongoski was going to put 400 people to work on the infrastructure over in eastern Oregon. The low bid contract went to a Chicago outfit. They didn't hire 400 people. They brought in their own people. I mean, private enterprise is, my God, the plan, I mean, the Corps of Engineers directed the WPA. I'm suggesting they bring in also the Seabees, the Navy's construction battalion, which even in Afghanistan, they had 70, I think they had a complement of 1,700 Seabees. They did 620 projects. Digging wells and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, they know how to build. They've been in business since 1941, as I recall.
So put them to work.
They're the ones that can know. They're the ones that can direct projects with the Corps of Engineers.
Okay, they can lead.
Yeah, with the Corps of Engineers. I mean, when you cross the Hawthorne Bridge here, the grid that you have were the first landing strips done in Alaska at the start of World War I, or II, excuse me, up in the Aleutians. The Seabees they came in right after the Marines on any landing and put in those landing strips. So I mean, the
So
Seabees,
were those recycled ones they've reused and here on the bridge?
They could. I mean, I'm saying these are the kind of landing
style.
strips they put in. Yeah, whether it was up in the Aleutians or whether it was in South Pacific, the Seabees know how to. Their motto is "can do." And so I'm suggesting they bring in, once again, to direct the project on all the infrastructure, the Corps of Engineers, who's always been doing it, with the Seabees.
Now, you've written some extensively on this, and you got an article out where you talk about it?
Yes, I did. It was in the Truth Out on July 23rd. It was a big, long article. The first third includes all of the cries for bring back the WPA.
What's the title of that article?
It's called Put 15 Million Unemployed to Work via the old WPA, resurrecting the WPA. People like columnists like Paul Krugman, former Labor Secretary Robert Reich, many others, including Rick Lowry, who's a conservative columnist. They're saying bring back the WPA. Lowry's not saying bring back the WPA, but he's saying we need jobs, lots and lots of them. Or you're going to have an insurrection in this country. You've got 15 million. I'm counting almost 1 million of people who've been out of work for 2 years or more. Last night, Obama was talking about those who've only been out of work for 6 months. There are people who are desperate for work and they've given up. Those are the people in their 40s and 50s. They can do this kind of stuff. So anyway, the first part of that article, the first third, has to do with the columnists that are saying we need to do that. The second third of it describes the projects that were done under the WPA and how many people they put to work. I think in 7 months, putting 3 million unemployed to work. This bill is going to be, I mean, it's politically motivated. I mean, what's he going to do? They're not going to pass that. They're going to, you know, the last third is how you're going to finance it. And that is, you've got a lot of, the Department of Defense, for example, if they're pitching in, you're going to get some money from them. The other thing that they're concerned about, and why they're keeping the wars going, in my view, you've got 50,000 kids in Iraq, in the army. You've got all those kids in Afghanistan. What if they come home and there are no jobs? Which was the situation when those kids came home from Vietnam. We had close to 100,000 kids incarcerated after no jobs. They gave up. They gave up. This is how we treat people who they insist fight that kind of war.
Well, we need a better way of doing this.
But the thing is, what are you going to do if you're bringing home even the 30,000 from the surge?
Yeah.
You have 150,000 in Afghanistan. That's one of the reasons they don't want to bring them home. The other one is, of course, the military contractors are making a bundle on war. But the fact, we're saying you can get that. We are giving, in foreign aid, do you know we're giving millions to Somalia? And I'm not just talking about the starvation. We're giving tons of money to Israel. We're giving millions to Russia. If you look at the foreign aid budget, that's not for military goods at all. We need to, I believe just what Dennis Kucinich said on the floor of the House 2 days ago about his new bill that's going to do this stuff. He said we need to be building here at home and forget all the other stuff, unless, of course, you want the oil. But the WPA, I mean, resurrected. You are going to get, I know the Labor Department talks about for everybody that you hire on the taxpayer dollar, they're turning back almost $1.50 into the economy. I go back to that little town of Glasgow. It founded a town called Townsend. You have 10,500 people suddenly coming to town. They gotta eat. They've got to have a place to live. They're going to buy some clothes. It instantly pours money back into the economy, including when they send it home, because those WPA folks moved from area to area. That's one of the things you had to do. They paid them. I think at most you got like $29 a month, but this is 1935. You know, you've got inflated dollars today. Yeah. Nevertheless, that meant that you had to come off relief. Now, relief was not unemployment insurance. I notice, in other words, they had to come off the dole to sign up for the WPA. You first had to sign up, and then they assign you wherever they needed you. Like we're talking about Timberline. Timberline is a small project compared to all the other things they're doing. So I mean, I'm thinking here's Obama citing that Georgia work project. He's saying, you know, if you're on unemployment there, you will go to job training. Job training is a way of keeping you out of the workforce. It's just a way of keeping them, you know, from lining up and getting unemployment. I mean, they're working for free. I'd like to see how many people in Georgia are going to go for that one.
Yeah.
So.
Good points.
Well, this is what's got to be done, and I say, you know, Kucinich's bill covers it all, and he's rounding up. He'll probably get all of his co-sponsors on that bill this weekend and hopper it on Tuesday. It's called NEED, the National. It has to do with. It has to do with putting the unemployed. We're talking 15 million people. And if you've ever been unemployed and you're in your 40s,
well, let's see something happen. The ideas are out here.
That's right.
Thanks for sharing.
Okay, thank you.